Good morning. I was all fired up when you went to the person of the week, whatever the sponsor, and it's Drew Brees. I mean, setting the all-time completions record in the NFL is great, but I mean, I was hoping it was going to be me.
Uh-huh.
And if not me, maybe Blake LaRussa. But
I mean, you got to go into that game thinking easy Va-Tech win, right? They're number 13 of the country, and Old Dominion was starting a backup quarterback. You had to think it was going to be an easy Hokie win.
I've now done the greatest comeback in college basketball history, which was A&M in the NCAA tournament beating Northern Iowa down 14, 43 seconds. This was not the greatest upset in college football history, but I mean, I do look at the numbers that are the predictive numbers, and this was supposed to be a 4-touchdown game. I mean, Old Dominion. Here's how Old Dominion's season started. The first series of the season, they're at Liberty. They go 3 and out and use 2 timeouts. And then on 4th down, they run a fake punt, fumble it, and give the ball to Liberty.
So they ran 3 plays and called 2 timeouts to open up the season.
Yeah, and then blew a fake punt. That's how the season began for Old Dominion.
And they lost 52-10 in that game to Liberty.
Right, and it didn't get a whole lot better the next couple of weeks. So, yes, going into this one, are you thinking, well, maybe Old Dominion can keep it close, maybe it'll be at the half, but in reality, you have a very good football team, highly talented football team on paper with Virginia Tech, and you have one who goes 3 and out with 2 timeouts and a bobbled snap and a fumble punt. So how do you think the game is going to go?
Well,
so that's and that it truly is what the glory of it is. You know, I mean, when I started broadcasting, there were times where, you know, the producers and you were like, okay, we're turning the page to blowout material now. We got to go to that. Like I do not do that anymore, like ever again, because you don't know. You have no idea.
Carter Blackburn joins us from CBS Sports Network, had the call of the epic upset by Old Dominion. What was the crowd like during that game? I mean, if you showed up to that game and got a close game, you'd have to be thrilled. What were they like as Old Dominion pulled ahead with 28 unanswered to the 4th quarter?
Well, it was insane, but it's also that dynamic. I mean, Old Dominion plays in a small historic stadium. It is undergoing a major renovations next year, so we'll have a new press box, etc. But there was a lot of Hokie fans. I mean, the Hokies in Virginia, the Hokies are the program. I mean, the past 25 years, Frank Beamer, Bud Foster, that's all documented. I mean, there's a huge following. So it was as many Hokie fans as there were Old Dominion fans. The stands probably are pretty close. And it was the mix of just sheer elation and shock. I don't know, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat, as Mr. McKay coined. So it was all there. And then of course there's the moments where Virginia Tech scored, and I mean they rallied, they score. You think, well, all right, Old Dominion had their fun, and now Virginia Tech is going to make the plays when it matters most and get out of here with the win. And that was it. And then Blake LaRussa went all Drew Brees, and he didn't even. So he's the backup quarterback, the guy who threw for 495, the second most ever against the Virginia Tech Hokies. He's the backup. They went 3 and out on the opening series, and then Bobby Wilder, the head coach, is like, you know what? We're going to see if the backup can give us a little lift. 495 yards, and they upset 4-touchdown favorite.
It's totally impossible that the backup of Old Dominion passed for 500 yards against Bud Foster. It's just impossible to believe. And in that final call, you say, why aren't they taking a knee? Now, this is from the 40-yard line, right? This is from the Va-Tech 40. You're saying, take a knee, Old Dominion. Don't risk a fumble. Don't risk something bad happening. And yet they run it into the end zone for a touchdown. But at that point in time, are you thinking they're losing their minds?
As far as taking a knee, well, let me say this. Like, I'm in my garage office right now, my garage office in Austin, Texas. And my wife, Karen, whom you know, Damon, she came in yesterday and said, "This looks like a beautiful mind," because I've gotten way deep into clock management and I'm becoming a huge advocate for taking a knee, and because time and time again, and I'm basically rewriting the sheet that coaches look at, saying when you should. So all of that will come out in my manifesto, which obviously I'll be writing from a mental health treatment facility,
right,
when I snap. But yeah, it is pretty exciting. And by the way, I do have to say this: one of the biggest compliments I've ever received in my broadcasting career. Nice gentleman on Twitter said I sounded just like Jerry Seinfeld in the fourth quarter, which is so heartwarming. I love Jerry so much. So that was real, and it was spectacular.
Very nice. So you've got Boise State against Wyoming coming up this weekend on CBS Sports Network in Laramie, Wyoming. We are going to Boise the week after. And so you've called games on the blue turf. You've called games at Boise. What are we to expect going to the Smurf turf in a couple of weeks?
Very good question. I would get the salmon hash browns, the salmon hash at Goldie's Breakfast Bistro.
Okay.
This is the most important thing about Boise State, about going to Boise. It's Goldie's Breakfast Bistro. It's right on the main street there. It's just wonderful. Get there early. It will be crowded. In fact, if you're going to be there on Friday in time for breakfast, I would go to Goldie's Breakfast Bistro on Friday. I'm not a paid endorser. I'm just that passionate about the breakfast spots in the Mountain West Conference. That's going to be chapter 2 of the book that no one will read. Chapter 1, clock management and when to take a knee in college football. Chapter 2, breakfast spots in the Mountain West Conference. So Goldie's Breakfast Bistro. Boise is a wonderful town. I've done Mountain West Conference football for many years now. It is a fun and unique environment. I wish you were coming to Laramie. I mean, Laramie is truly unique and is a really fun football environment. Now, Boise is a wonderful football environment as well. But Boise is a great town. I mean, I've been going to Boise off and on for 15 years or so, and it's a fantastic. The secret's out now. Like for 15 years ago, if I would have told you Boise's a great place, you would have been like, oh, really? And now the secret's out. It's a wonderful place. There's great hiking. Tabletop. Table Rock. Yes. That is when I owned Danny Cannell on a hike to Table Rock. Absolutely. That's the NFL QB thought that he was going to dominate me on that hike, and I can tell you it was Blackburn domination on that hike to Table Rock, and then we went to Goldie's.
So look for the memoirs, Clock Management and Skillets in the Mountain West.
That's precisely right. You know, the one person who's going to buy it is Dave Friedman. That's it.
Super Dave to our listeners.
Yes, and super it is. Yeah. In fact, Chapter 3 is just going to be stories about him. So that ensures I'll sell one copy to Super Dave.
Boise State and Wyoming from Laramie coming up this weekend, Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern kick on CBS Sports Network. Carter and the gang will have that call. Booms, it's great to catch up, brother. Awesome call last weekend for ODU. We've been playing those highlights throughout the week and on Sunday Morning Football as well. So props. Great job, bud. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thanks. I do have to point out in the garage, I have a picture right now, you, me, and Andrew Catalon with Ian in the background. So you're very well represented in the Garoffice.
I appreciate that, man. Good to hear. Get that beautiful mind Garoffice cleaned up for Karen. Okay.
No shot.
Okay.